So my name is Tim. I'm working currently in Berlin at the UDK, University of the Arts, as a researcher in the project called 3D Min, Design, Development and Dissemination of New Musical Instruments. And I thought that I'll give you a little bit of an overview of the selection of things that I've done in my life until now. I hope this works the way of how I think it should work, which is obviously not like this. Yeah, I can also do that. Perfect. So I'm just going in chronological order and somehow try to tell you a little bit of why I'm here today, basically. So I studied computer science and the natural science in Bielefeld in Germany and got into something that is called sonification. Sonification and tangible interfaces. Sonification is basically making music without the music part, so using sound to convey information about data and get something about the data. So it's not in the musical sense using sound, which is kind of a different way of how many of you, I guess, are working with sound. And the first thing that I did into this kind of more musical thing was this audio sound logs installation, which was basically a bunch of these big cubes, and they have speakers inside. And you could move them in an 8x8 meter square around, and they make sound on different levels. It was a lot of fun for kids, as you see. Together with the Animax in Bonn, which is unfortunately not there anymore. It was a nice place. Then, after my PhD in Bielefeld, where I graduated or PhD'd in sonification and tangible interfaces, I went to Helsinki University to Aalto University, where I had a postdoc time, and where I did an installation called Vellum together with Erich Berger, which is basically a feedback instrument. You have these, so these are paper rolls hanging, and there are speakers down here, and up there you see these tiny little dots. They are microphones, so you have some kind of feedback going between these two places, and we had filters in between, could do cross modulation and all these things. So it was kind of an installation that we then also played. At the same time, I worked with Dave Griffiths on something that he at some point called Betablocker, which is a virtual chip, or it started as a virtual chip, so like a little tiny, something like an Arduino or basically a computer that has a certain amount of commands that you can use in order to write programs. And you could basically write a program and then listen to it executing. And we did many different ways of how to deal with making sound out of these things. So in a way, like the first one, this one is about feedback in an analog way, and this was then also about feedback in a digital way, because you can also, you listen to the program and the program also rewrites itself, and you somehow get some kind of idea about the materiality of the program itself. Then I had a one-year project called DIND, Electronic Music for People with Autistic Spectrum Disorder, where my very ambitious idea was to do a co-design, or do co-design sessions with people with autistic spectrum disorder in a severe sense, and build instruments for them so that they can make contemporary electronic music. I think this is what I called it back in the days, in 2013. It was a really great experience for me, because I somehow understood that the way of how I and how we are now here sitting, that there are people sitting and listening to me, is not something that is very natural to these people that I worked there with. So they had difficulties to even sit on a table for 5 minutes. So it was kind of a different process of how to get involved with them. So we ended up doing basically or some kind of musical installations, like isolated islands in which they then made music and manipulated objects that generated and produced music. Another thing that also was happening while I was in Aalto University was this Senora, which is a piece about listening to wind. So these big sticks, there are these fluttering ribbons. There's a coil here, a magnetic coil, and when the ribbon flutters you can basically have a more or less direct translation of the movement of the ribbon to sound events. And because it is kind of next to you, you can also manipulate it. And it is kind of an instrument that you play together with this natural phenomenon called wind, and which makes it kind of interesting in this way. I organized together with Christina Stadelbauer. Well, Christina Stadelbauer organized something called, well, good question, Hive. The Hive village that happened in Otaniemi in Helsinki, where she put up these hives, beehives, that Julian is sitting in front of. This one is one of those. And we installed microphones in there long-term for 4 months, and the bees kind of built them into their hives, and then we organized an event, a bee picnic or a sound picnic with the bees, where we invited artists to play in real time, or to somehow interpret in real time the sounds that the bees were making. And well, then my time in Helsinki unfortunately ended, and I moved to Berlin, which is also quite a nice city, very different, working in the 3D Mint project. And one of the big things that was actually premiered in Amsterdam, not in this room, but in OT, that one, together with my colleagues Dominik Hildebrand, Mark Schlopsch and Amelie Hinrichsen, we developed this instrument called Pushful, which is essentially some kind of concertina-like thing that you strap to your leg on one side, and the other side is you have on your hand, and there are certain different sensors in the handpiece, and you have 2 microphones and valves, and you can basically go up and down. I will not show a video, you can just look it up on the internet, it is very prominently featured there. And another prototype that we did was this guy, which is kind of interesting also in a musical instrument sense, because here we worked with dancers. These 2 guys are dancers, and it was a workshop that we did with them. And for them, that was for me like the interesting part about it was that the size of the object makes a lot of a difference. It's a very simple thing. There are 2, like there's a potentiometer here, there's one here, and they are somehow like this, so that they fold like that. So in a little bit weird way, so you never really understand how the object, although it is very simple, like kinetically moves. And so this thing makes sound very arbitrary, very noisy in a way, but somehow you can understand that if there is a movement, there's a change in the sound, and these 2 somehow improvised around it with their bodies. And for them it was really important that the object itself had the parts of the object had the length of their arms, and were somehow like the same size of them. This is why it is called Mitbewohner, which I have no idea what it is in English. The person, roommate, thank you. Which actually the name the New Zealand guy Josh came up with, so it's kind of an interesting pun on the German language for him, I guess. And the last thing, which I will show a little video of, which was originally what I wanted to talk about, is these wilderness performance concepts that emerged out of a residency thing, workshop residency thing that I did together with Antje Graj-Ripati and 5 other people that you see here on the photo. And we went to Kilpisjärvi, which is in the 3-nation crossing of Finland, Sweden and Norway, way up in the north. And yeah, so the idea of this thing was to go by foot and take all kinds of instruments, mostly electronic instruments, with us, and then find spots where we then perform for the land or for ourselves. And there are many questions that come out of this. Like, if you do it in a group, like, and everyone is performing, for whom do you do this, for example? Or does the land somehow notice that you're there? And also very, very simple things, or seemingly simple things, like because we go there and it's this kind of wasteland, and then you find this fence, and then you think, like, is it still wilderness that we are in, or is it like, are we interpreting it? Is it like some kind of colonialization that we are doing there? So I'm just play you a little part of this. I don't know, 10 minutes maybe?
Yeah, that's good.
I have no idea.
Yeah,